Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today's explainer explores an absolute game changer in polymer and plastics technology. We're talking about advanced color correction. The source material we're analyzing today is going to take us far away from the old days of color matching guesswork and plunge us straight into a highly logical scientific diagnostic system. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so picture this. You're standing right there on the factory floor, staring at a sample. Sure, you can easily read the delta E values off the machine, but when it actually comes time to make the physical correction, total confusion sets in. You find yourself asking, well, how much blue should we add? Wait, how much yellow did we reduce? The shade is dark, but it's kind of greenish too. What on earth do we even correct first? If you've ever felt that exact frustration, instantly putting yourself in the shoes of the decision maker, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. So the absolute most crucial takeaway, established right out of the gate, is this golden rule. Analyze first, correct later. It's so fascinating because the material points out that reflexively throwing in more pigment is literally the biggest mistake a technician can make. Adding pigment immediately, it's almost guaranteed to lead you down the wrong path. We absolutely have to diagnose the problem before we start prescribing a cure.
Here's a quick look at our agenda for this explainer. We'll be covering the 4 golden questions, solving common shade issues, fixing dull and dead shades, lab versus production correction, and finally, we'll wrap up with the top 5 correction mistakes.
All right, Section 1, the 4 golden questions. This is all about establishing our diagnostic framework. The source strongly suggests that before you even think about touching a pigment, you need to run through a quick diagnostic checklist. Question 1, is the shade light or dark? Question 2, is it leaning towards the red or green side? Question 3, is it on the yellow or blue side? And question 4, is it clean or dull? Just getting the answers to these 4 simple questions instantly clears up your direction for the correction.
Moving right along to Section 2, solving common shade issues. We've got a few practical case studies to look at. Let's jump into a rapid-fire look that contrasts amateur mistakes with true professional corrections. Case Study 1. You compare your standard and your sample. The hue and undertone are totally identical, but the sample is just too dark. So what's the common amateur mistake here? People immediately start dumping in blue, yellow, or red. But listen, when the only problem is darkness, adding more color just ruins the shade entirely. The pro correction is elegantly simple. You either increase your white pigment, or you just actively reduce your color pigment.
Now, Case 2 is super interesting. Your L value is exactly the same, but the sample looks a bit yellowish, meaning your B star is sitting on the positive side. The huge, very dangerous mistake here is making a direct, large addition of blue. Honestly, never do this. A professional starts with a microscopic correction. We're talking just 0.01 to 0.03% of blue pigment, or maybe a violet toner. In a real-world production environment, even just a few extra grams of blue can completely overwhelm and ruin a massive batch. Moving right into Case 3. Say your sample is leaning towards the red side, meaning your A-star value is positively high. The professional fix? You simply add a green undertone pigment, or a blue-green correction. And you know, this brilliantly illustrates a real-world scenario. In automotive gray shades, looking just a tiny bit too red is an incredibly common issue. A precise, micro-green correction perfectly neutralizes that unwanted red every time. Okay, Case 4. The sample is leaning heavily towards the green side. The totally knee-jerk reflex for a lot of technicians is to automatically dump red into the mix. But hold on. Depending on the specific nature of the hue, sometimes adding a warm yellow is actually the superior logic-based choice. It's not always a straight opposite color swap. You really have to stop and consider the specific nature of the hue you're working with. Section 3. Fixing dull and dead shades. These are notoriously the most difficult corrections to make. So why does a shade just die on you? Breaking it down systematically, there are very specific mechanical reasons for this. Maybe there's a massive overdose of titanium dioxide, or you're dealing with poor dispersion. Or, frankly, perhaps you're just using way too many pigments, or the completely wrong combination. The professional solutions here are highly targeted. You have to improve your dispersion process, increase the strength of your primary pigment, and actively slash any unnecessary ones from the formula. The source material emphasizes a really standout piece of wisdom right here. The fewer the pigments, the cleaner the shade. Seriously, if you are throwing a massive, chaotic combination of pigments into a formulation, you are practically guaranteeing a muddy, dull result. Keeping it simple is the ultimate key to creating clean, vibrant shades.
And that brings us perfectly to our next case study. You're working with a black shade. It measures dark on the machine, sure, but visually, it looks completely flat and totally dead. The reason behind this is almost always a carbon black overdose with zero undertone support. The professional fix is actually a bit counterintuitive. You just lower the carbon slightly and support it with a nice blue or violet undertone. The end result is this incredibly deep, rich, premium black appearance.
Section 4, Lab versus Production Correction, because context absolutely matters. One of the most crucial rules highlighted in the material is this: never, ever treat the production floor like it's a laboratory. In the lab, you are working on a small scale. Control is super easy. This is exactly where you must lock in your final formula. But out there on the production floor, the material is already actively processing. Making major corrections out there is incredibly difficult and, frankly, dangerous to the batch. Production is for minor tweaks only, period. Major corrections belong exclusively in the lab.
Finally, Section 5, Top 5 Correction Mistakes, the ultimate pitfalls you need to avoid. The research tells us that adhering strictly to these constraints is really what separates the amateurs from the pros. First, never add 3 pigments at once. You will completely lose track of the chemistry. Second, avoid making large corrections. Keep them small and highly calculated. Third, always check your physical processing parameters. Don't just blindly assume it's a pigment issue. Fourth, never ignore polymer variation. And finally, never make a final decision based only on that delta E number. Your visual logic and the math simply have to work together.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, by absorbing the concepts we've covered today, you now have a highly scientific, completely logical framework for advanced color correction. We can systematically plan our adjustments, whether that's going from dark to light, yellow to blue, red to green, or completely reviving a dull shade. We finally have the tools to operate with clear logic, completely eliminating the guesswork.
Which naturally leads me to a pretty provocative question as we wrap up here. Are you ready to build a completely new shade from absolute zero? In our next explainer, we are going to dive deep into color formulation development. We'll be looking at professional formulation thinking and advanced pigment selection strategies, which is absolutely critical for both R&D and matching. It's going to be an incredibly insightful follow-up. So keep this framework fresh in your mind, and I will see you next time.
Before we end, remember this advanced color correction is not about adding random pigment until the set looks right. It's about understanding the science behind every color shift and making smart decisions based on data. Whether you are working in the lab or on the production floor, factory like a processing temperature, raw material variation, machine condition and pigment behavior can all affect the final color. The professionals who matter color correction are the ones who can identify the root cause quickly and take the right corrective action. Every reject batch, every color mismatch and every troubleshooting case in actual in the opportunity to improve your knowledgeable and become a better color matcher. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Secret Polymer Tech. And tell me in the comment what is the most difficult color correction challenge you have faced in your plant. In the next video, we will discuss another practical industry case that can help you solve real-world color matching problem faster and more accurately. Thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep innovating, and keep mastering the science of plastic color technology. See you in the next video.